The air in the lawyer's office was thick with tension, an unspoken battle waged beneath the polished mahogany table. My brother, Mark, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, a smug smirk plastered on his face. He looked as if he had already won some unseen war. I gritted my teeth, my hands clenched in my lap. This was supposed to be a moment of closure, a time to honor our grandmother's last wishes. Instead, it felt like another battlefield in the ongoing war between us. The lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, cleared his throat and adjusted his glasses. Thank you all for coming today. We're here to execute the last will and testament of Margaret Langley. Mark scoffed. Let's not waste time. I already took care of things on my end. He turned his gaze toward me, his smirk deepening. I sold the house last month, so don't even bother. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. He did what? My grandmother's house, our grandmother's house, wasn't just property. It was where we had grown up, where she had raised us when our parents had failed us both in different ways. It was her legacy. And he had just sold it? I opened my mouth to speak, but Mr. Caldwell remained unfazed. Instead, he calmly reached into his leather briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope, sliding it across the table. Actually, he said, meeting Mark's eyes, you might want to open this first. Mark's smirk faltered. His fingers hesitated before he tore open the envelope. The moment his eyes scanned the first line, all the blood drained from his face. His hands began to tremble. And that was the moment everything changed. Mark's face went ashen, his confident demeanor crumbling like a sandcastle against the tide. His eyes darted back and forth across the document, as if hoping the words would change if he read them enough times. What is this? His voice wavered, something I had never heard before, fear. Mr. Caldwell folded his hands. It's your grandmother's final amendment to the will. A change she made before she passed. Mark's grip on the paper tightened. His eyes flickered toward me, resentment flaring in them. This has to be a mistake. I leaned forward, pulse pounding. What does it say, Mark? I didn't bother hiding the sharpness in my voice. Mr. Caldwell answered for him. It states that the house could not be sold before the will was read, and if it was, the transaction would be rendered void. Mark visibly swallowed, beads of sweat forming on his brow. That's not possible, he muttered under his breath. I already sold it. Mr. Caldwell tilted his head, his expression neutral yet firm. Then I suggest you prepare yourself for a legal battle, because according to this, the house was never yours to sell. A stunned silence followed. My heart pounded in my chest. She knew. Grandma knew what he would do, and she made sure he wouldn't get away with it. For the first time in my life, I saw something I never thought I would see on my brother's face: defeat. Mark shot up from his seat, chair scraping loudly against the polished floor. This is ridiculous. She never mentioned anything about this. Mr. Caldwell remained composed. She didn't need to. This amendment was filed properly and legally binding. I could see Mark's mind racing, grasping for straws. He wasn't used to losing. He had spent his entire life getting what he wanted, by charm, by manipulation, by brute force. And now, for once, he was powerless. I leaned back in my chair, a strange mix of emotions washing over me. Relief. Vindication. But most of all, an overwhelming sense of gratitude toward my grandmother. Even in death, she had found a way to protect what truly mattered. Mark turned to me, his jaw tight. Did you know about this? I shook my head. No, but I guess Grandma knew you better than you thought. His nostrils flared. You think this is funny? No, I said, my voice softer than before. I think it's justice. Mark's hands clenched into fists, but there was nothing he could do. For the first time, he wasn't in control. The following days were chaos. The buyer Mark had sold the house to was furious when they learned the sale was void. Legal threats loomed, and Mark, for all his arrogance, was backed into a corner. He tried to fight it. Of course he did. But the law was clear. He had no right to sell what wasn't his. And me? I didn't gloat. I didn't rub it in his face. I simply watched as he unraveled, as the weight of his actions finally caught up to him. For the first time in our lives, he had to face the consequences. Despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to completely hate him. Yes, he had tried to steal what wasn't his. Yes, he had been cruel and selfish. But he was still my brother. So when I found him sitting on the porch of my grandmother's house, shoulders slumped, staring at the ground like a lost child, I made a decision. I sat beside him. Didn't say a word. After a long silence, he finally spoke. I screwed up. I nodded.
Yeah.
You did. Another pause. Then, I don't know how to fix it. For the first time in years, I saw something real in his eyes. Regret. And maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late for him to change. I studied my brother's profile in the dim light of the evening. His usual smug arrogance had vanished, leaving behind something raw, almost vulnerable. A part of me wanted to throw all his past cruelty back in his face, to remind him how he had always looked down on me, how he had sneered at me at every turn. But another part of me, the part that still remembered the little boy who used to hold my hand when we were scared, hesitated. I sighed. Maybe you can't fix it, Mark. But you can start by making things right. He let out a humorless chuckle. And how do I do that? The buyer's threatening to sue me. I'm broke and my reputation is trashed. No one's gonna do business with me again. He turned his gaze toward me, his jaw tight. So tell me, oh wise sister, how exactly am I supposed to fix this? I took a deep breath, knowing what I was about to say would shock even me. Move in here. His head snapped toward me. What? Live here? Grandma left this house to both of us for a reason.
You lost your way, Mark.
Maybe this place will help you find it again. His eyes searched mine, looking for the trap, the ulterior motive. He had spent so many years being selfish that he couldn't comprehend genuine kindness. I don't get it. His voice was low. Why would you even offer me that after everything I've done? I exhaled. Because despite everything, you're still my brother. And I think Grandma wanted this house to be more than just property. She wanted it to be home. Mark scoffed and shook his head. Home? You really think this place is some kind of magic fix? That living here is suddenly going to make me a better person? I shrugged. I don't know, but it's a start. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I don't deserve that. Maybe not, I admitted. But that doesn't mean you can't try. Silence stretched between us. The wind rustled through the old oak tree in the yard, the same tree we used to climb as kids. For a moment, it felt like we were back in time, before life hardened us, before greed poisoned everything. Finally, Mark let out a long breath. I'll think about it. Over the next few weeks, things didn't magically get better. Mark was still Mark, stubborn, temperamental, and too proud to admit when he was wrong. But there were moments, small glimpses, of something different. He stopped avoiding me in the house. He fixed the broken railing on the porch. He even sat with me at dinner one night, awkward and silent but present. I didn't push him. I knew change wouldn't come overnight. But at least he was trying. And that was more than I ever expected. One evening, as I was sorting through some of Grandma's old things, Mark hesitated in the doorway. Hey, he said, voice unusually soft. I looked up. Hey. He shifted awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. I never said it. I frowned. Said what? He exhaled sharply. I'm sorry. The words hung in the air, so foreign coming from him that for a moment, I thought I had imagined them. But the way he was looking at me, raw, honest, regretful, told me it was real. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Thank you. For the first time in years, I saw a glimpse of the brother I used to know. And for the first time, I let myself believe that maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. Not long after, Mark got a call from the man he had tried to sell the house to. The buyer was still angry, still looking for a way to recoup his losses. Maybe I should just leave town, Mark muttered after hanging up. Start over somewhere else. I shook my head. Running won't fix this. He scowled. Then what am I supposed to do? I met his gaze. Face it. Make things right. For once, he didn't argue. Mark did something I never thought he would. He reached out to the buyer personally. He apologized. He explained the situation, admitted he had acted selfishly, and even offered to help the man find a new property. It didn't fix everything, but it was a step. A step toward becoming someone better. One evening, I found a letter hidden among Grandma's things, addressed to both of us. My dear children, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. But it also means you've found your way back to each other. At least, I hope you have. This house was never about money. It was never about property. It was about love, about family, about second chances. Don't waste yours. Love, Grandma. I looked up at Mark, who had been reading over my shoulder. His eyes were glassy. He swallowed. She really believed in me, didn't she? I nodded. She did. And for the first time, I think he believed it too. Days passed, and though Mark was trying, the weight of his past actions loomed over him like a dark cloud. He was haunted by the choices he had made, by the people he had hurt, the opportunities he had squandered, and most of all, the realization that he had nearly lost everything, including me. One night, I found him in the backyard, sitting on the old wooden bench under the willow tree. His shoulders were hunched, his hands clasped tightly together. I had seen Mark angry, arrogant, and dismissive, but never like this. Never so small. I hesitated before stepping closer. Couldn't sleep? He let out a hollow laugh. Haven't slept properly in weeks. I sat beside him, the cool night air settling between us. What's keeping you up? He rubbed his face. Everything. The mess I made. The people I hurt. The fact that Grandma saw right through me and still gave me a second chance. He shook his head, his voice raw. I don't deserve it, you know. I studied him carefully. Maybe you don't. His head snapped toward me, and for a moment, he looked like he had been punched. I continued before he could react. But you're here. You're trying. And that's what matters. He exhaled shakily. I don't know if I can ever make up for everything. I placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. Then don't focus on making up for the past. Focus on who you choose to be moving forward. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes, hope. Redemption isn't just about wanting to change. It's about facing the damage you've done. And for Mark, that meant facing the person he had betrayed the most. Mr. Thompson, the man Mark had illegally sold the house to, had been on a warpath since the deal collapsed. He had threatened legal action, sent aggressive emails, and even called Mark a fraud in a public post online. And Mark, he didn't fight it. He didn't retaliate. Instead, he showed up at Mr. Thompson's office. I went with him, unsure of how it would go. Mr. Thompson was a shrewd businessman, known for his unforgiving nature. When we entered, his sharp gaze landed on Mark with pure contempt. You've got some nerve showing your face here, he said, his voice clipped. Mark stood tall, but not with his usual arrogance. This time, with accountability. I don't expect forgiveness, Mark said, voice steady. But I do want to make things right. Mr. Thompson scoffed. Oh, and how do you plan to do that? Mark took a deep breath. I know you lost time and resources on that deal. I want to personally compensate for what I can. Silence filled the room. Mr. Thompson leaned forward. You think throwing money at this will fix it? Mark shook his head.
No.
But I can't undo what happened. All I can do is own up to it and do what I can to lessen the damage. For the first time, Mr. Thompson seemed to pause. He studied Mark carefully, as if seeing something different in him. After a long silence, he sighed. It's rare to see someone actually take responsibility these days. He tapped his fingers on his desk. I won't lie, what you did cost me. But maybe, just maybe, you're not as much of a lost cause as I thought. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Mark had spent most of his life chasing wealth, power, and prestige. But for the first time, he had to ask himself, who was he without those things? It was an uncomfortable question. One that left him restless, lost, uncertain. One morning, I found him fixing the fence outside, something he had been working on little by little. He wiped the sweat from his brow and sighed. I don't know what to do next, he admitted. For the first time, I don't have some grand plan. I considered his words before saying, maybe that's a good thing. He raised an eyebrow.
How?
Because for once, you're not chasing something that doesn't matter. You get to decide what kind of person you actually want to be. He was quiet for a moment before saying, I just don't know where to start. I smiled. Start by doing something that actually helps people. That was the moment everything shifted. Mark had spent his entire life taking opportunities, taking shortcuts, taking advantage of people. But now, for the first time, he wanted to give back. He started small. First, he helped an elderly neighbor fix their broken porch steps. Then he volunteered at a local food bank, an act that stunned even me. One day, I found him staring at an old photo of Grandma. She always helped people, he murmured. No matter what. I nodded. And that's why she left this house to both of us. Not to tear us apart, but to remind us who we should be. For once, he didn't argue. Not everyone believed in Mark's transformation. Some old business partners called him a failure. Others said he was just pretending to change. And maybe in the past he would have snapped back, trying to prove them wrong. But instead, he let his actions speak for him. He kept showing up, kept working, kept trying. And slowly people started to notice, including me. One evening, as we sat on the porch, Mark turned to me. I don't think I ever told you, he said, voice softer than usual. But I always envied you. I frowned.
Me?
Why? Because you never let the world change who you were. He exhaled. You had every reason to become bitter, but you didn't. You always believed in people, even when they didn't deserve it. My heart clenched. Mark. I
wanted you to know that.
He looked at me, really looked at me. I'm proud of you. Tears pricked my eyes. For the first time in years, I believed that I had my brother back. Months passed. The house that once felt like a battleground became a home again. Mark wasn't perfect. He still had moments of stubbornness, flashes of his old arrogance. But the difference was he tried. One day, as we sat by the fireplace, he turned to me. I think I finally get it now. Get what? I asked. He smiled, small but real. Why Grandma left this house to both of us. It wasn't just a house. It was her last lesson. I smiled back. And what did you learn? That family isn't just blood, he said. It's the people who don't give up on you. And for the first time, I knew we were going to be okay. That night, I found a final letter from Grandma tucked inside one of her old books. My dearest children, if you're reading this, then my plan worked. You've found each other again. Never forget, love is the greatest wealth you'll ever have. Take care of each other. Love, Grandma. And for the first time in a long time, I felt whole again.